Before we jump in, a quick thanks to our sponsors at HK Real Estate, Mountainside Gear Rentals in Golden, and of course, Upslope Brewing. 2 upcoming chances to come record with us live this Tuesday, February 19th in Golden with the Golden Mountain Runners and Colorado Mountain Club. And next Wednesday, March 6th, down in Highlands Ranch at Manic Training. Details at dispatchradio.com.
Normally, like when it gets steep, Willow's gone. I cannot hang. If I'm a little bit too close, then there was like, rare. You know, that's not okay.
Now we can go to Tres Margaritas! Like, okay.
Search for some G's so I can get some.
Avery Collins doing regulators.
I hope that doesn't make the podcast. I hope it does.
Guys, welcome. We are here at Upslope Brewing, about to record another Front Range Live. We've got our Crusher Couple episode here. We are packed to the gills with amazing people who crush in life and crush in the mountains. Thank you, everybody, for showing up for a fun evening. Woo woo! Thank you to Upslope Brewing for hosting this evening. I'm just going to do some quick intros here just to kind of set the table. To my immediate left, we have Willow and Myles Rockwell. They are a crusher couple in the sense that they crush in the mountains, mountain biking, cross-country biking. They crush in life. They have a foundation where they help support getting at-risk kids out mountain biking. Myles has a coaching business where he helps other people crush and coaches them up to do amazing things in the outdoors. I think we haven't had one of these before, Kelly. Myles had a gold medal in the X Games in 2000 mountain biking. Pretty cool stuff. And Willow, not to get outdone, she was a world #1 champion for cross-country cycling. And that's not even their jobs. I mean, he's a general contractor, and she takes care of kids. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Myles, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
And to Kelly's immediate left, we have Dany and Lesley Page. Dany is one of the founders of Upslope Brewing. We had a great founders talk in the big canning room not too long ago, Dany. And we threatened to get your wife out here and get her on the podcast, and we have succeeded. So I'm really excited about that. Dany and Lesley are interesting. They met on a glacier in Patagonia. Not a whole lot of people can top that for a origin story. So we look forward to hearing about that. And as far as crushing in the mountains, they're both previous mountain guides. So they've helped guide people up some really cool places down in South America. And to their immediate left, Sabrina, Stanley, and Avery Collins, professional ultrarunners. They're the young bucks out there. They live in Steamboat Springs, and they are just crushing it out there. So Avery specializes in, well, I think you both specialize in long, gnarly, most people are going to drop out of the race kind of races. So the Georgia Death Race is an example. Avery won that in 2017. You have to carry a railroad spike for that one to go 100 miles in northern. Is that right? Am I?
Yeah, I just don't know if it's good if everyone drops. That kind of makes it easier to win.
Oh, okay. Well, in the sense that it's just so dang hard. And Sabrina, you won the Hard Rock 100 last year. Huge race. And I know that we're building up to a pretty epic 2019 Hard Rock. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Training starts in a few weeks.
Thank you guys all for coming. I'm going to pass the mic here to Kelly McConnel.
I was like, I have so many questions for you about Hard Rock, but we can ask you later.
Go for it.
Is she nervous? No. We'll get to that later. I have to take off my Valentine's Day fuzzy jacket. Let's start with Dany and Lesley, since we are at Upslope. How about Lesley, tell us about how you met and why you were there?
So I was down in Argentina teaching English for a year and lived with mutual friends of ours, good friends of Dany's at the time. And they knew I loved being in the mountains, and they said, hey, there's this glacier travel course where you get to learn how to travel safely across glaciers and rescue people from crevasses and all this stuff, and it'd be a really great opportunity for you to meet people. And so I wasn't sure, and I was hemming and hawing, and so I went to the introductory meeting. I wasn't sure because I had run out of money because I had just traveled for 3 months and spent all of my money, so I wasn't sure if I could spend that much extra money. Anyway, I went to the meeting and decided to do it my Spanish was still less than ideal, less than perfect, and so I misunderstood the starting date. Trekked across the snowy, dark city to my first day of my glacier travel course and showed up to this old military base to nobody. And I came home and was like a little puppy dog with his tail between his legs. And they were like, "How's the class?" And I said, "Well, it doesn't start." There was nobody there. So they called Danny because they knew he was one of the instructors. And he said, "It starts tomorrow. I can pick her up at work." And the rest was history. So we went and did this glacier travel course. He was one of the instructors, and so we learned how to set snow anchors and how to rescue people, and it kind of progressed from there very quickly. And yeah, so that's kind of the...
What made you attracted to Lesley?
I remember I was we were practicing some knot, and she was really good at some of the knots, and and I asked her like, "It looks like you know about knots. Where do you learn to do this?" And like, "What? This knot saved my life," she said. It's like, man, I want to meet this girl. So yeah, she has some stories, and I realized like, yeah, she was, like good and love outdoors, and
How symbolic is that, tying the knot?
I know, all right? We haven't used that before.
That's the cutest story. So you started a brewery in Argentina, correct?
correct.
So you had a brewery there when you met her?
Yes, we were already 10 years in operation when Lesley, or 9 years when Lesley came in. Also, I was working with the Andino Club there, guiding, and also with the program then I create for high school kids to bring to the mountain, because I was teaching also chemistry in high school, and I realized all these kids, they were living in this beautiful town in the middle of the mountains, and they never went to the mountains, and for them the mountains were like a how you say, like postcard, like they never were there, and that to me kind of impacted me, because one of the reasons I was there was because of the mountains and the outdoors. So I started creating this program, and because I have all these credits or all these how you say, like doing all these courses, and I can bring people to the mountain. I talked with the principals in high school and started creating this program to bring kids to the mountain, and it was great to me. I remember really hard kids with a lot of problems, and you bring them there, and you start hiking with them, and how they change. They are different people. To me, that was amazing, and for them also, experiencing something they were born there, and they were not going outside, and I love that a lot. I miss a lot of that kind of work. Yeah.
So you were a chemistry teacher, and did you, in the summer or when you had off, you did mountain guiding on the side?
No, and yeah, I did during the weekends. Yeah, for me it wasn't work. It was like going outside with kids.
It was your passion.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's more in common here than I thought. It's awesome. So Willow, can you tell us how you met Myles and how you guys attracted each other, what attracted you to him?
Well, he's super hot, so that helps. What's interesting actually is when he was like at the top of the sport, he was 21 or 22, right? And I was 16, which is like a kind of a big gap. And like I was not very, I don't know. Of course I was like awesome at 16, but not like confident, like, "Oh, hi, Myles," But I just remember like being like, wow, he's like so cool, and like everyone loves him. But then I forgot about him, and life goes on. But then we met when I was 32, I think, 31. He had already retired, but I was like at the top of my game. And he came to a race that I was at that I didn't want to be at, because it was like a Super D, I think. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just a cross-country superstar. Why am I at a Super D?" And then Myles was there, and he was just having the best time of his life.
What's a Super D?
Myles, what's a Super D?
Super D's like an enduro now.
Okay.
Is like what it turned into.
But not like World Cup. It's not an Olympic sport. It's like sort of, I don't know. I just didn't take it that seriously. I'm like, why am I even at this race? Why are my sponsors
It
sending
wasn't
me here?
really important.
To me, yeah. I was just like annoyed that I was there. But it was just like tons of guys, and Myles was there, and he just kept like bothering me. I'm like, this guy is so irritating. And then, but after like the next day, I don't know what happened. Oh, he said something like the first night. He was like, oh, that's a gluten-free ass. And I was like, okay, dude, like, come on, like you are really forward and aggressive. But then whatever, I don't know what happened in the next 24 hours. I was like, okay, this guy is cool. I really like him. And I happened to be engaged to somebody else at the time, so I was like trying not to like him, kind of, but it didn't work. So we're married now with 2 kids. So after that race, I drove back to where I was living. It was in Whistler, British Columbia, and I was like, yeah, I definitely can't marry this other guy. And so I called Myles. He's like, well, I don't want to be like a home wrecker, but if you don't want to marry that guy, I wouldn't marry him. And I called my coach, and he happened to live in Durango, Colorado, and Myles lived in Durango. And my coach was like, I have a place you can stay for the summer. I was like, well, I'll be there in 2 days. And then, yeah, I called Myles once I was there. He's like, really? You're in Durango?
So
he probably
it
was
was
like, why
meant
is
to
this
be.
stalker chick here? But yeah.
It went from Myles kind of stalking your gluten-free ass to you
Yeah.
stalking him.
Yeah, I mean, I just moved to Durango. Done.
So Myles, what did you like about Willow besides the fact that she's super hot?
Well, Willow was like one of the most out there chicks I've ever met. So I said some crazy shit to her. Stuff to her at the in the van a couple times just to see where she was at. I asked her if she believed in parallel universes, and we sort of connected. we had these we had some connections that you wouldn't really normally have, and we would be out after dinner or whatever, walk by the ice cream store, and we look in there, and Willa goes, look at all those lizards licking that ice cream. And I started looking in there, I was like, oh my God, you're right.
They connected in their silliness.
We ended up back in Durango together, which that was great too. And here we are with 2 kids, married, and still kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And it's still crazy. And it's still fun. So, Avery, how did you and Sabrina meet?
Can I pass this off to Sabrina? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So at the time I was living in Steamboat, and I was moving to Breckenridge to open up a new running store in Silverthorne. Sabrina was living in New York and had previously lived in Breckenridge and was moving back. So she contacted me on Facebook and used the classic, hey, do you want me to show you the trails line? And she also knew that I liked beer, so she used both of those as ploys to get a hold of me, and it worked all the way. Our first date was as simple as went over to her place, and we hopped in her little VW Bug and drove up the service road up in Breckenridge, and she showed me a couple trails, and then we went and grabbed a beer, and I'm skipping some fine details, but that's pretty much
You made out in the VW.
the general.
Bug. Oh, you didn't?
No, well, not that night. No.
Why did you reach out to Avery?
So we met in person. We met May 2016, and the summer before I was training for Leadville 100, and that July somebody had posted that Avery had won a 200-mile race, and I'd never heard of 200 miles. And then when I heard how old he was, I'm like, oh, he's kind of in my, because most ultra-runners are like mid-30s. I'm like, oh, I think I was like 26 at the time, maybe 25. I was like, oh, he's like in my age range, and he likes to run mountains like I do. And I had never, I don't know, I just never come across somebody that I like found those same passions as I did. And so I just sent him a friend request, and he accepted. I moved to New York City shortly after that, and 8 months went by. And then he posted on Facebook that he was moving to Breckenridge. And I was like, so I reached out and I said, hey, it's like 2 a.m. I'm waiting for a subway in New York City. And I just shot him a text or a message on Facebook, and I said, I'm moving back to Breck. I know all the trails. Let me take you out for a beer and show you all the trails. And so he agreed to it. And he pulled up in his like lowrider Buick, and he's like, we can't take this car. We have to take yours, which I had not cleaned my car, and so it reeked of really bad running shoes and a couple of spilled protein shakes. And so we hopped in, and I'm like dressed like New York.
You've never smelled a car like this, I promise. It was bad. It was really, really bad.
And I have on like I'm like New York Sabrina, and so I have on like this like long like pea coat and bright lipstick and heels and all this stuff. And so I take him up to show him all the trails, and I'm like a kid on Christmas morning, like so excited that I can show this new friend of mine all these amazing mountains. And he's like, I'd rather discover them on my own, and completely shuts me down. I'm like, whatever, this guy's a tool. So then we go out and grab a beer, and as soon as we sit down, the very first line he says to me is, I hope you don't think I'm one of those guys that only talks about running. And like in my head, I was like, shoot, like this date might as well end now, because that's all I want to talk about is running. I don't know what we're going to talk about for the rest of this meal, but it all worked out.
You guys have good stories. So what do you love most about her, Avery?
Oh, her passion. She's very passionate about everything, even if it's fucking cribbage or like literally, it doesn't matter what clue. Like running is just like the tip of the iceberg. She's just uber competitive at everything, which we've had to dial down a little bit at times. But it's awesome to see that, because I am competitive, not as competitive as her, but it's rubbed off in a good way. Sabrina is really funny. You don't even have to get to know her, and she's really funny. Yeah, it's your turn, I think.
We're just trading compliments.
I have a question, because you are kind of answering my next question, so we'll just start with you guys. How do you manage that, both of you being so competitive? Like, how does that show up in your relationship? And then how do you manage it between each other so you don't end up in this like pissing contest, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say our relationship has definitely progressed the longer we've been together. So when we first met, he was much farther along in his career than I was. And so he was my idol. Like, I aspired to train like him. I would follow him up mountains, and I would like study his foot path and like how he stepped off rocks, and just everything about his running. I was a student. And so I aspired to be as good as him. And then we kind of transitioned to this, we are now equals. And so how do we balance, like, are we competitive against each other, or are we teammates, or like how does that work? And so there has been a few occasions where it's like we have to remind ourselves we're on the same team always. We are on the same team, and we're each other's biggest cheerleaders. And I would say that
Everything she said is 100% accurate. We're at actually a pretty interesting crossroads, because I've ran very, very little, but in the last 5 months it's been kind of rough. I've been dealing with injury, so that's been kind of a change, and she's been supportive of the fact that I just snowboard every single day. Although that's not necessarily what it got me to where I am now, and it's definitely not paying any bills, but it's keeping me in shape. So it's been interesting just for me on my own. I never knew that this was going to happen. Like, I didn't anticipate a 5-month process, the process is still continuing to get better. But it's been awesome to see that she's been really supportive of the fact that, like, running's not really an option right now, but all these other sports that I'm doing are an option to stay in shape. So yeah, that's one of the best parts about being with Sabrina is it doesn't matter. I think what she wants out of me is to make sure that I'm always pushing myself. It doesn't matter necessarily what it is, but it's just the fact that I'm giving everything I have to do that, as long as I'm, not half-assing. And I don't half-ass anything, but...
Well, that's why you're so good at what you do, right? I think.
The running?
Yes.
Or the snowboarding?
Well, I bet you're a good snowboarder, too.
I'm all right. I'm okay. Thank you.
So, Dany and Lesley, you're both mountain guides, or you were?
We were in the past.
You were
so
in the past.
I'm a teacher. I haven't been teaching since our 6-year-old was born. So we are starting a software company. So I'm putting on lots of new hats.
The two of you are starting one together?
It was Danny's idea, something that he needed. His brother's a programmer. He was like, if I need it, I'm sure other people do. And I was mostly a stay-at-home mom, but was always looking for a way to tap into that kind of professional, productive side, and so it was a great fit. So that's been my part-time unpaid job. So for us, for now, in the stage that we're in, the crushing mountains side is much more of a hobby. So I feel kind of humbled to be in the presence of these two couples as far as.
I feel when you guide, it's not about showing your followers or your group how strong you are and how badass you are. It's more about making them comfortable, and I think both we have that same mentality. It's like more than show part of that rather than like, look at how badass I am and I'm gonna make you struggle, like that's not the idea of a guide. That when you're a guide, that is already, you already need to be good and need to be understand a lot of things, but the idea of guiding is bringing these people in a comfortable way and make them enjoy what they are doing.
So you both show up in this more supportive type of nature already. Yeah. Awesome. So Myles and Willow, how about you guys? How does that show up in your relationship?
Luckily for Willow and I, her specialty was going up, and my specialty was going down. So, I wouldn't enjoy being beat by her going on a climb, but more often than not, I would have to accept defeat. And so when that didn't work out, and I was pretty close, Willow would get really pissed. She'd be so mad at me, or just maybe.
I thought I would be in good form,
right.
Like if he was anywhere near me on the climb.
So yeah, if we went for training rides together, it should be normally like gonna get steep. Willow's gone. I cannot hang. But if I'm
That's kind of awesome, Willow.
Yeah, if I'm a little bit too close, then there was like rare. That's not okay.
Does that show up in life?
Things shifted so fast for us because, I got pregnant with our oldest daughter, and I was still racing World Cup at the time, so it was just a whole huge shift really fast. But I think we've just been, really, I think we're just fans of, like, each other's, like, soul path and destiny path, if that makes sense. It's like we're just so supportive. Like, the changes that we've gone through and been through together and individually since we've been together have been so massive. Like, Myles wrote on my Valentine's card today, just like, we've climbed so many mountains. It's, like, unbelievable, So I think we're just, like, on a soul level, we're really, like, supportive of each other that way, and maybe it comes down in little things, but that's only because we each want to be our best selves, not because we want to beat each other. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So, like, I would get definitely upset if, like, Myles was, like, close to my ass on a climb right before the World Championships, because I'd be like, I gotta beat the Russian chick, this can't happen. But it was really just, like, pushing each other in the right way.
Is there any special way that you show up for him if he's, like, not doing well, or?
You want a back rub and some sex, baby? That kind of stuff. Men are kind of simple. I have to be honest. I don't want to lie. But I just think it's like I even asked Myles, I'm like, what do you want for Valentine's Day? He's like, baby, you know me. I'm simple. Like, it's simple. You show up, like, as a woman for your man, I think.
So I was going to ask all the guys, is it hard to be with a strong woman who kind of crushes things? And do you
only when they say you're puss because you're sick or something.
Oh, a man cold.
Oh, you got a man
cold.
cold, huh? Oh, another man cold. No, so for me, like, I'm kind of ancient history. Like, I was there for Willow when she was in her racing kind of glory, and it was really great for me to be able to, like, really be supportive of her and not have to worry about my thing at all. Like, I was done kind of competing against the world at that point. So me wanting her to do good was really fun for me. It was really great.
Yeah, it was a fun thing to do together. It really was.
So
it was
that's
like the very beginning of our relationship. So, like, the first 3 months, and then we had success so fast. And for me, it was like, because he was already a world champion, he told me, he's like, you can be a world champion. I'm like, if a world champion tells you can be a world champion, like, I believe it. It's not just like, your neighbor telling you can win the world championships. I'm like, well, damn, maybe I can. So we had a really fun time doing that together. It was fun. It was like a fun creation right before we had kids, which is another creation, as you guys know.
Yeah, that's like perfect timing for him to come into that and encourage you. How about you guys? Avery, is it hard to be with, like, a strong woman who is doing really well, crushing it in sports?
Now, no. I mean, because I think we found the perfect balance. When we met, she had just gotten into ultra running and was kind of unfamiliar with the territory. And I had trained with her through the summer and kind of watched what she had done. And her goal at Leadville is to do top 10. And I said, well, top 10's kind of that's bullshit. I think you can go top 5, maybe even top 3 if you run the right race. And she finished 4th that year. And then, over the course of the next year and a half, I watched her do this, steady incline. And there were times where, selfishly, like Hard Rock, I was so proud of her and excited for her. But I was also like, wow, she's, it's just weird. Like, I got to step back for a minute, and the shine's not on me anymore, and it's about Sabrina. And that was momentarily difficult to deal with. Like, I'm talking like hours. And then I was over it and super pumped for her. And now it's like really easy to deal with because it's the way it is. Sabrina's going to kill it, and that's the way it's going to go. I mean, she's pushed me in the same way that I've pushed her. I think it's just been a little different. I've taught her a thing or two along the way, and she has encouraged me to be a more competitive runner. She's just really competitive, and I think she also maybe sees something sometimes I don't see in myself. She wants me to push to the point where she knows that I can be, but perhaps maybe I'm not going for at times. I think that's definitely what I've been trying to note on. Sabrina thinks I'm the best in the world, and I don't.
That's so nice, Sabrina, and that he sees that.
I mean, I think it would be cool to be the best in the world, but,
So you were on not one of our first podcasts. Maybe it was quite a few in, but I talked to you about your training, so I've seen like just what you're saying now that you've definitely have more of a plan. Does that have anything to do with the field changing and getting so much bigger now?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's changing. Well, it's changing yearly. And the beauty of like some of these bigger races, so I kind of gotten to this point where I found this happy medium of one year I pick one really competitive race, and well, at least this is the trend as of right now. I pick one competitive race one year and obviously fill in with a few other races, and then the next year pick one massively difficult race, and that was this year with Tour des Géants. And kind of the irony of Tour des Géants was it turned out it was a really competitive race. Probably the most competitive they've ever seen, with a lot of returning winners this year. So the beauty of the sport now is some of these absurdly gnarly races are slowly picking up traction and bringing in, a lot of competition. Something like Hard Rock, like this upcoming year, is going to be really, really competitive. It would be nice to see more people get in with a different sort of entry process, but even these really difficult races are now becoming more popular, which is super
What's
sweet.
the entry process again? Is it a lottery?
For Hard Rock?
Yeah.
It's a lottery, but they only their permitting allows for 145-ish.
But it's a 3-bucket lottery.
So it's fairly difficult to get into. But yeah, these races are definitely clearly getting faster. Like Western States was ran in 14 and a half hours this year. So we're talking like 750 pace for 100 miles.
Over mountains.
Yeah, over hills.
That's pretty crazy. Let's talk about Hard Rock since we just mentioned it, and I don't want to keep putting it off, and I want to know how you're feeling about it, and Sabrina, and who your competitors are. I feel like I might know who they are, but I just want to hear from you how you're feeling about the whole thing.
I don't know if I have any competitors, but no, I should stop having beer. No, Courtney DeWalter will be out there this year. Andrea Hauser, she's taken second at UTMB. And then Darcy will be out there as well. Darcy's won it twice. Courtney, her resume speaks for itself. She's won many races outright. And Andrea, as I mentioned, took second at UTMB. So it's going to be a tight field. I'm really excited this year because my last year season, although it went phenomenally, it wasn't the races I ran weren't as competitive as they could have been. And so I really feel like I've won the races I need to win, but now I want to win against competitors that I need to win against, if that makes sense. Like, just to put my name in stone, kind of. Because this will be my 3rd year, 2.5, of being a serious competitor. So yeah, I'm really excited. We're going to move out to the course come April, and I'll live on the course, train on it, know it like the back of my hand like I did last year. I plan on running a phenomenal time. So if I get beat, which I hope doesn't happen, then it's going to be a course record or like a lifetime performance by whoever beats me is the plan.
Awesome. I love hearing that. I actually really want to go now.
You should. You should come down. It's an amazing experience.
Our buddy Corey Fain, who started Dispatch Radio with us, plans to be there DJing somewhere, and I think that I'll go out there and cheer you on.
Yeah.
Where is he DJing? I'll be there.
I don't know. We're going to try to do something.
Already be out there.
I don't know if he plays that.
Well,
I'm so excited for you. It's going to be awesome.
I am too.
It's going to be really awesome. What's coming for you? So what's your next races, Avery?
You know, right now I'm just playing it by ear. My back is kind of the number one priority. I just need to get healthy first. But I've also kind of considered branching out and.
What's wrong with your back?
I've just been having some lower back problems. It's a long story, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But it's getting a lot better, which is great. I think the end is near, or I'd like to believe. Worst comes to worst, I've really flirted with getting into some gravel bike racing. A few years ago, I did one road race in which I really enjoyed, and then I swapped my road bike out, got a mountain bike, found out I suck at mountain biking because that takes more skill as opposed to just thrashing through some pedals. So I think maybe gravel bike racing might be the perfect in between, just a way to stay in shape. And you know, I do have like a competitive spirit that I suppose I need to feed. Although I do consider myself more of an adventure enthusiast, but ideally I really want to be foot racing. So.
Yeah, well, I hope that happens for you. I've never even heard of gravel bike racing. They've made
It's just
it's
a glorified road bike with just bigger wheels. Yeah, okay. So you can ride on dirt roads.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you heal up soon. So Willow and Myles, tell us a little bit about how having kids has changed your life in sports and the outdoors and just in general.
I would just say this, that first of all, by listening to some of the other people on the panel, like my focus has the things change so much too with age, with kids, with whatever, injuries, life happens. I think my best days are well behind me, but I still have these wonderful moments where I'm still in this a magic place where everything aligns. And so even though for like an action sports athlete, I'm like a senior citizen, I still have moments of total brilliance. Just as long as I don't hit the ground, I am like right in there. And so, like I said, I think there's just, you just pick and choose. It's not an everyday go as hard as you can thing. It's like when I train as hard as I can. When I'm that's kind of where I am able to regain or hold on to some of my youth. And when I'm kind of in my competitive mode, which would be like on mountain bike downhills or motocross track, whatever I might be doing, I have to be a little more selective. I have to kind of listen to intuition a little better. If the things aren't totally there, I just have to back off a little bit, to me.
As you get older, you realize these things.
You just got to really take care of yourself. I think that's the key, is like, you want to play with your kids, you want to like be able to go work, do you want to be able to play? All right, yeah, I have to be in good shape. I have to feel good. So I guess that didn't answer the question about how did the kids change my life, but
it helped you find balance.
When I can't pick up my daughter because my back hurts, that's a problem. So
really simply for me, I had to go away from being competitive and being to nurturing, like with the snap of a finger, kind of. And it's been really good for me, but it's also been the most challenging thing of my life, because I raced professionally for 17 years, and it's like all I knew how to do. And you're like, wait, okay, being a mom isn't about winning. Being a good partner and a good wife or even a friend isn't about winning. And so it was like this whole complete like paradigm shift that I had to go through, and I feel like I'm still going through. And yesterday, I feel like I was like, I think I might have gotten it, you know? But then, like, there'll be another day where you're like, damn it, isn't there something else I should be doing but these dishes, you know? It's really an interesting thing, but I think that's life, and I think being able to go through all the phases and then having a partner that you're going through all the stages and phases with, it's just such a blessing, you know? But the biggest thing for me has been, instead of trying to, like, do it all by myself, do it solo and be the best by myself, is like, how can I do this for the team, which is, like, my family, you know? So that's the biggest change.
Do you have any advice for Sabrina if she ever decides to have a family?
No, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. You'll do it just if you ever
she
do.
doesn't even
no.
want one.
Well,
Okay.
when you're in the top of your game, which obviously it sounds like you are, you don't have time to, like, have any other thoughts in your mind. So you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You know, doing exactly how you're supposed to be doing it. Because I remember that, and it's like, it is so cool to have that, like, single mind focus. I mean, that's what makes you the best. So it's awesome. Rock on. Yeah.
Myles, can you tell us about your foundation and your coaching a little bit, what you do here in the community for kids?
Absolutely. So I have two things going on in the bike world right now. One is the Rockwell Ridewell Foundation, which is basically the goal is mentoring and inspiring youth. It's not necessarily to create the next professional athlete or anything like that. It's more for helping kids find direction and finding a passion. Some people may click with bike riding. Some people may click with running or snowboarding, skiing, whatever it might be, mountaineering. The idea of it is to kind of give people that might not have access to either people to ride with or equipment to do it with. We operate out of the Valmont Bike Park. In conjunction with that, we have a ride coaching business, day camps, afternoon camps for kids. It's called 303 Dirt. So the idea is that I can sponsor kids through Rockwell Ridewell to go to 303 Dirt, which is a good group of people, good coaches, real quality kind of mentoring and riding, learning all the features of the Valmont Bike Park, and also mountain bike trail riding, winter park trips, things like that. We go to various bike parks in the area as well. So really, it's kind of fueled from experience for myself that bike riding, bike racing, whatever it was, a passion for sports, a passion for self nurturing, taking care of your body. That's kind of what saved me from sort of an adolescent path that I was on, which was just a destructive path at 14 to 17, just having no real self-respect or accountability. Really kind of taking some responsibility for your life at some point was something that needed to happen for me, and sort of happened because I had this outlet. The bike was a great way for me to kind of escape from everything. Not only did it help me escape in a healthy way, while I was kind of being a bad kid, I also got away from the cops a lot on my bike. So this is just sort of a funny tidbit, but the truth is that, the bike was sort of my escape mechanism from kind of a bad environment in a way. And so that's why I'm hopeful that I can also help other kids, depart from maybe a bad path, or at least find something that they like to do that could kind of keep them being able to self-soothe throughout their life, because the sport is always there for me, even now.
How do you get those kids to find this program?
We were looking for ways to work with the city of Boulder. We've got some inroads with some programs. We also are available you can contact us at 303 Dirt, our site, and Rockwell Ridewell as well. We are approachable about anyone who may not have the means to come to our camps. we are willing to sponsor kids that need help. And more importantly, it's not about just getting kids out on bikes, it's getting kids on bikes around other people who are having a good experience. And it's a non-competitive environment. It has nothing to do with competition. It has nothing to do with any kind of future career or anything like that. However, it's sort of a stepping stone to the next place in cycling, which could be mountain biking or racing of some sort, if that's the direction. That's not really our focus, but that's totally something that is available as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, Myles. I can think of so many kids already that my son hangs out with that need that program. There's a whole slew of kids right now in Boulder, so
yeah,
I hope to get them your way.
Right, thank you.
Hopefully
I can help them.
This is an awesome program.
Thank you.
Okay, so how about you guys, Dany and Lesley? Could you tell us briefly about how having kids has sort of shifted you and what else you're up to moving forward?
I think that one big lesson that we've learned is to just remove all expectations as far as when we've gone out to take our kids skiing or out in hiking, and because we definitely want to kind of bring them up doing the same hobbies that we love to do. And I think that with skiing, I remember, I don't know if it was 2 years ago, so we started them at like 2.5. Those families who were like, look, our kid is skiing, and they do one run and then ask for hot chocolate, and we're like, okay, we'll call that a success. But it definitely paid off because now they can ski blacks. And but I remember when they were still just on greens and these moments that we kind of remarked to each other like, wow, I definitely thought that I would miss doing double blacks and going through trees and going out of bounds, but this is so amazing. And just these tiny little milestones when you see them do their first parallel turn, that you're just like, oh my gosh, this is the best moment of my life. I think just seeing how those expectations or those kind of what you're shooting for switches. We took our girls on their first backpacking trip this summer, which was one of my passions. I guided backpacking trips for years, and my 6-year-old turned to me and was like, I love backpacking. And I was just like, you have no idea how happy that makes me. And so I think that it's just been cool for us to kind of see how we've been content with kind of dialing down our level of what we're doing, seeing that those days are coming, and just seeing that we can still bring them into what little glimpses of still doing what we love to do. So that's been
it's worth the pain and the slow moving so that you can do stuff as a family.
Yeah, motivation is a big thing. I remember we were climbing in Boulder Canyon, and it's like, okay, if you get to the top, we can go to the Tres Margaritas, a Mexican restaurant she want to go every day. And sure enough, I forget about that, and she suddenly started climbing and really, oh wow, she's really getting into there, and get to the top, and it's like, now we can go to Tres Margaritas. Like, okay. So yeah, motivation is a good thing. Like also skiing, M&Ms and hot chocolate, or go to the train in Eldora, after skiing, and they do that maybe for that motivation, but also they don't realize then at one point it's like, we really like to do these things, and then they ask for go out or go to climb or go to skiing or hike or do camping and that kind of stuff. So yeah, motivation is a good thing for them, giving something that maybe is a bridge for them to understand the good thing about the outdoors. So.
Well, having an Upslope beer at the end of my big outdoor day.
Yeah, press everything.
Motivation for me.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions before we close up?
So we got Sean McCabe with Pure Power.
Thank you. So I was just curious. Obviously, you're all supportive and encouraging of each other and push each other at times. And I wonder specifically, are there any sort of healthy habits or performance practices, as we like to say at Pure Power, that you've learned from each other and adopted in your own life?
Let's start on this end with Willow.
Myles and I always remind each other that, it's it sounds kind of simple, but honestly, it's like what you're thinking really does create the reality that you're in. You know, it really is. Like, you can time jump, you can be in a different universe, you can be all kinds of places just by the thoughts that you're thinking. So we remind each other all the time. Like, if somebody's down, we're like, that's just a negative entity, get that out. That's not you, you know, forget about it. So we are constantly like keeping up on each other with that. And I think it just really helps a lot that we're on the same page with that. Like, we don't let each other go in a downward spiral that way.
I'll just say this. Willow told me one day, she goes, you know, honey, if you do a back bend every day, you'll always be able to do a back bend. And I was like, you know what? You're right. If I hit that double every day, I'll always be able to jump that double. I'll always be able to hit that. So that would be, I think, just, you know, live that life every day that you want to live, and then you'll always be there.
Ooh, I like that.
I think one thing too, especially once having kids and your kind of time balance switches, is just not necessarily focusing on doing this huge thing and being okay with like, okay, I didn't go for this long run today, or I didn't go for this crazy long hike, but I'm going to go out and run for whatever it is, 15 minutes, or do the 7-minute workout or something that and not feel like a total failure, and think, okay, I'm making steps towards still being healthy, or still being able to go out and do that thing, and not having to always only aspire to something huge, because sometimes realistically you can't get to that huge thing every day.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes people, you know, tell me, like, how are you so skinny? I was like, what? I don't eat it a lot, you know? That's the reality, you know? Sometimes I eat enough to satisfy myself, but I know I eat a lot. And you know, calories in, calories out is the thing. And it's not magic.
Guys, I got the pro tip today. You saw me sipping the same thing Dany ordered, which was the Nitro Stout. And I think you called it the dinner in a glass. I agree.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, people's like, man, you work in a brewery and you don't have that tummy, and everybody has. Well, like, I don't drink a lot, you know. It's calories in, calories out. That's to me a thing. And eating healthful, you know, eating good food, cooking and that stuff. I think help with that stuff. Eating real food, you know.
I think similar to what Myles said, like right on point, was, I mean, walk it like you talk it. If you're going to, I like to think that almost everything I say I'm going to do, I do it, like point blank period. It might not be sometimes the safest depending on what it is, but I think it's a healthy habit to, when you set a goal or say you're going to do something, to do it. I mean, that empowers you to do the next big goal.
I'd say appreciate what you have. I mean, looking back 2-3 years ago, we would dream of the life we live right now. And so there are days where you're like, just feel like complaining. But if you take a step back and be like, look at what we've accomplished and look where we are. And sometimes it takes the other one to remind you of that, or vice versa. But just, I would say at least every other day, if not every day, one of us is like, we get to do this every day. Like, we live a dream, and with each other, with your best friend. And so whether that is, you know, having a family and kids, or having a house, or whatever your dream is, like, look where you were a few years ago and like what you have now. So there may be negative thoughts, but just look at the whole package, and it's pretty amazing where you've come from.
Yeah. It's easy to take something for granted. Like, just don't, no matter what it is, don't take it for granted.
I want to help my boy Avery out. I love this guy. He's been a great friend of the show. And I think Sabrina got away with not saying what she loved about him. So let's end with that.
If we're going there, wait, you got a Valentine's Day card?
I was wondering when that was coming.
No. What do I love about Avery? We'll go past looks, because obviously his big blue eyes. But he is the most supportive person I've ever met, and I truly credit our relationship to him, because I am a little bit high-strung, and when I get mad, and he is so calm all the time, and I can be just like fire spitting everywhere, and he's like, what's upsetting you? Like, super calm. And he talks me through it, and like, I just want to be so mad at him, and he's just like, but you're so beautiful today. Like I can't think of a single day where he has not told me at least 5 times how much he loves me, or how he loves the way I hold my fork, or the way I sneeze, or just like the stupidest, most mundane things that you do every single day. He tells me he loves about me nonstop. Yeah. I'll stop talking because I could go on forever.
Was that good, Avery? All right, that's what he needed to hear. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody in the audience. Thank you to our Crusher couples. We'll post in the show notes how people can connect with the foundation. Any other tidbit? What did you guys drink beer-wise? What did you guys have tonight? So, Willow.
I had an amazing kombucha.
Oh, you had a kombucha. They do serve kombucha here. Did you drink tonight?
You skipped mine.
Oh, Myles, I'm sorry. Did you drink tonight,
I
Myles?
had the Citra.
The Citra.
I had the Citra too.
I had the nitro oatmeal stout.
Well done.
Nitro and Milan Stout.
Yeah, I followed that order.
I also had the Citra.
You might have to correct me, but I think I had the Pink Rose IPA.
I was going to ask if people would judge me if I ordered the rosé. Was it good? It was really good. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much to Upslope Brewing for hosting. And for folks that are interested in CBD, we do have a show March 22nd, Rare Talk. We're going to be diving in deep on CBD for athletes. Thanks, everybody. All right. And